Stand on almost any street corner in London today, and you will hear many different languages. In just a few minutes, you might hear English, French, Arabic, Bengali, Spanish, and many more. Nearly 40% of the people who live in London were born outside the United Kingdom. This makes London one of the most diverse and multicultural cities in the entire world. But if we go back in time, about 2,000 years ago, London was nothing like this. There were no busy streets, no tall buildings, and no crowds. Instead, the land was mostly marshy and wet. A tidal river flowed through the area, rising and falling with the sea. Only a small number of people lived there, and the place was not important to anyone, except the Romans. So how did this quiet, useless stretch of land become one of the greatest cities on earth? The answer is long and dramatic. London's story is filled with invasion, fire, disease, and revolution. It began as a small trading post and slowly grew into the center of a powerful empire. The city was destroyed again and again, burned to the ground, and rebuilt stronger each time. Through wars, disasters, and massive changes, London never stopped growing. It kept changing, adapting, and attracting people from all parts of the world. For hundreds of years, we could only imagine what early London looked like. We relied on old artists' sketches, faded engravings, and descriptions written in ancient journals. These sources gave us clues, but never the full picture. Today, that has changed. Using modern AI trained on historical images, we can now take those old drawings and paintings and bring them to life. We can see the cobblestone streets, the crowded markets, and the smoke rising from medieval chimneys as if we were really there. In this video, you are about to travel through nearly 2,000 years of history. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the journey as we explore the incredible story of London, the capital of the United Kingdom. Let's go back to the very beginning. The year is 43 AD. 4 Roman legions have just landed on the coast of Kent. These soldiers are moving inland, looking for control. They need a good place to cross the River Thames. It must be a spot where they can build a bridge and safely move supplies from mainland Europe. They find the perfect location at the narrowest crossing point of the river, just before it opens into a wide estuary. Here, the Romans begin to build a settlement called Londinium. Within just 10 years, Londinium is full of life. Merchants arrive from Gaul, soldiers come from Syria, traders travel from North Africa. Goods, people, and ideas flow through the new town. The Romans build a wooden bridge exactly where London Bridge stands today. Around this bridge, a busy port town quickly grows, almost overnight. But peace does not last long. Only 17 years after Londinium's founded, disaster strikes. Queen Boudica of the Iceni tribe leads a rebellion against Roman rule. Her army marches straight into Londinium and burns the entire city to the ground. Archaeologists have discovered a thick layer of red ash beneath modern London, clear evidence of this terrible destruction. The Romans do not give up. They rebuild Londinium bigger and stronger than before. They construct a massive stone wall around the city. Amazingly, parts of this wall are still standing nearly 2,000 years later. At its height, Londinium is home to around 60,000 people, making it the largest city in Roman Britain. There are amphitheaters, public baths, markets, and grand forums. This is no longer a distant outpost, it is a true Roman city. Then, around 410 AD, everything changes. The Roman Empire is collapsing. Barbarian tribes attack from all sides, and Rome can no longer protect its faraway territories. Britain is too distant and too costly to defend. Emperor Honorius sends a final message to the people of Britain. They are on their own. The Roman legions leave.
Without Roman support, Londinium's economy collapses. Trade routes disappear. Wine from Gaul and olive oil from Spain no longer arrive. Roman coins lose their value. One by one, the merchants leave, the officials leave, skilled craftsmen leave too. Within a single generation, a city that once held tens of thousands of people shrinks to just a few hundred. These remaining settlers live among broken buildings and crumbling ruins, surrounded by the ghosts of a once great city. And yet, this is not the end of London's story. It is only the beginning. For hundreds of years, the great Roman buildings of London slowly fall apart. Roofs collapse, stone walls crack and crumble. Grass and weeds grow through beautiful mosaic floors that once shone with color. Nature quietly takes the city back. But even as buildings decay, the River Thames keeps flowing, and rivers have always attracted people. Where there is water, trade, travel, and new ideas are never far behind. After the Romans leave Britain, new settlers arrive. These are the Saxons. Unlike the Romans, the Saxons do not like big cities. They are farmers and village people who prefer the countryside. They look at the old Roman city with fear and suspicion. To them, the empty ruins feel strange and even dangerous. Some believe the place is haunted or cursed. One Saxon,
The poet, describes the broken buildings as the work of giants, because the Saxons cannot imagine how ordinary humans could have built structures so large and strong. Instead of living inside the old Roman walls, the Saxons choose a new location. Around the 670s, they build a settlement about 1 mile west of the ruined city. They call it Londonwic, which means London Trading Town. Today, this area includes places like Covent Garden and the Strand. If you visit the Royal Opera House, you are standing directly above what was once Saxon London. By the early 700s, Londonwic is busy and active. Ships arrive from many distant lands. Amber comes from the Baltic Sea. Millstones and wine jars arrive from the Rhineland. Pottery and metal goods come from France and Germany. Trade brings life back to the area. At its height, Londonwic may have had around 8,000 people living there. It is not as large as Roman Londinium once was, but it is a healthy and successful town. Then a new danger appears. The Vikings arrive. Beginning in the late 8th century, Norse raiders repeatedly attack the settlement. At first, these are quick raids, but over time, the attacks grow larger and more serious. Viking ships sail up the Thames in great numbers. In the year 842, they completely sack Londonwic. In 851, they do it again. The town is no longer safe. Finally, King Alfred the Great decides to act. In 886, Alfred retakes London from the Danes and makes a smart decision. He abandons Londonwic and moves the population back inside the old Roman city. The ancient stone walls are still standing, and they offer much better protection. Alfred repairs the walls and rebuilds the defensive ditches. The city is now called Londonburh, meaning London Fortress. Londonwic is left empty. Over time, people begin calling it Ealdwic, meaning Old Settlement. That name still survives today as Aldwych, the curved street in central London. Over the next 150 years, London changes rulers many times. Control passes back and forth between Saxon kings and Danish leaders. In 1016, King Canute becomes ruler of England and makes London his capital. Yes, this is the same King Canute from the famous legend about commanding the sea. In 1042, Edward the Confessor becomes king. He makes a decision that will shape London forever. He builds Westminster Abbey just west of the city. From this moment on, London becomes the center of trade and business, while Westminster becomes the center of royal power and government.
Edward the Confessor dies in January 1066 without leaving an heir. England is thrown into chaos. Several men claim the throne. Harold Godwinson is crowned king, but across the English Channel, William, Duke of Normandy, says Edward promised the crown to him. In September 1066, Harold must march north to stop a Norwegian invasion. He wins the battle, but his army is tired and weak. Almost immediately, he receives terrible news. William has landed on the south coast of England with around 7,000 Norman soldiers. Harold rushes south and meets William at the Battle of Hastings on October 14, 1066. By the end of the day, Harold is dead. William has won. On Christmas Day, 1066, William is crowned King of England inside Westminster Abbey. The Anglo-Saxon age is over. The Norman era has begun, and the Normans plan to reshape England in their own image, starting with London. William does not fully trust the people of London. Many supported Harold, after all, so he builds not one, but 3 powerful fortresses to control the city. The largest of these becomes the Tower of London. At first, it is a symbol of fear and domination. Over time, it becomes a lasting symbol of royal authority. At its center stands the White Tower, strong, tall, and unmissable. It is not just a building, it is a message, carved in stone, announcing that a new power now rules England. The White Tower rises high above the city. It stands about 90 feet tall, and in some places its stone walls are more than 12 feet thick. It dominates the skyline and can be seen from far away. For the people of medieval London, it is a constant reminder of who is in control. By this time, medieval London is crowded, noisy, and full of life. Streets are narrow and messy. Animals, carts, and people all compete for space. But the city is also becoming richer. By the year 1000, around 15,000 people live in London, and the number keeps growing. London's merchants organize themselves into powerful groups called guilds. Each guild controls a trade or profession. There are goldsmiths, fishmongers, drapers, mercers, and many others. These guilds grow so strong that even the king cannot ignore them. He must negotiate with the city's leaders. In 1215, when the barons force King John to sign the Magna Carta, London's support is essential. In return for that support, the city demands its own rights. London gains the freedom to elect its own mayor and protection from unfair and sudden taxes. The city is no longer just a place to live, it is a political power. One of the greatest symbols of medieval London is London Bridge. Between 1176 and 1209, the bridge is rebuilt in stone. It takes 33 years to complete. This bridge is not just a crossing, it is like a small town. Shops and houses line both sides. There is a chapel in the middle, a drawbridge for defense, and even the heads of executed traitors displayed on spikes. Warning to others. For more than 600 years, it is the only bridge across the River Thames in London. Then, in 1348, death arrives by ship. Vessels dock at London's ports carrying rats. On the rats are fleas, and inside those fleas is a deadly disease, the Black Death. Within just 2 years, between 1/3 and 1/2 of London's population dies. A city that may have held 80,000 people is suddenly half empty. Entire streets are abandoned. Bodies pile up faster than they can be buried. Mass graves are dug in fields outside the city walls. London survives, but recovery is slow. By the late 14th century, the population begins to grow again, but anger is growing too. In 1381, peasants and workers march on London, demanding an end to serfdom and unfair taxes. The revolt is led by Wat Tyler. the rebels storm the Tower of London, execute the Archbishop of Canterbury, and burn the palace of John of Gaunt. The young king, Richard II, meets the rebels and promises reforms, but these promises are not kept. The peasants' revolt is crushed. Wat Tyler is killed, and the rebel leaders are hunted down and executed. Even so, the uprising terrifies the ruling class. The common people of London have discovered their strength, and that knowledge will not disappear. By the year 1500, London's population has recovered to about 50,000 people. Then something extraordinary happens. The city begins to grow at an incredible speed. By 1600, the population reaches around 200,000. By 1650, it is close to 400,000. London becomes the largest city in Europe. In the 1530s, King Henry VIII changes London forever. He wants to divorce his first wife, but the Pope refuses. In response, Henry breaks away from the Catholic Church, creates the Church of England, and closes all the monasteries. In London, monasteries own huge amounts of land. When Henry seizes this property, it is sold to aristocrats and wealthy merchants. Grand houses are built, and the city suddenly has space to expand. Under Queen Elizabeth I, London becomes the cultural heart of Europe. In 1599, the Globe Theatre opens on the South Bank. William Shakespeare stages plays like Hamlet, Othello, and King Lear. At the same time, merchants grow rich from trade with the New World and Asia. In 1600, the East India Company is founded, laying the foundations for the British Empire. But London has always had two great enemies, disease and fire. The city is built mostly from wood. Roofs are made of thatch, dried straw, and reeds. Houses stand close together, with upper floors hanging over narrow streets, almost touching. Every home has open fires for cooking and heating. Candles burn everywhere. There are no fire brigades. London is a giant tinderbox. In the 1660s, disaster strikes again. In 1665, the plague returns. It is not exactly the Black Death, but it is deadly enough. At its worst, 7,000 people are dying every week. The rich escape to the countryside. The poor have nowhere to go. By the time the plague fades, around 100,000 Londoners are dead, about a quarter of the city. Then, the very next year, on September 2, 1666, another catastrophe begins. A bakery in Pudding Lane catches fire. The summer has been hot and dry. Strong winds are blowing. London is about to burn. The flames spread faster than anyone expects. Strong winds push the flames from street to street. For 4 long days, London burns without stopping. By the time the fire finally dies out, about 85% of the city inside the old walls is destroyed. More than 13,000 houses are gone. 87 churches are lost, including the old St. Paul's Cathedral. It is a miracle that so few people die in the fire itself, only around 6, but the damage is still overwhelming. Nearly 100,000 people are left homeless, sleeping in the open air among the ruins of their city. Architect Christopher Wren sees this disaster as a chance to rebuild London in a completely new way. He imagines wide streets, open squares, and elegant classical buildings. His plan is modern and forward-thinking, but it is almost entirely rejected. Property ownership is too complicated, and people are desperate to rebuild their homes as quickly as possible. Most streets follow the same narrow medieval paths they had before. Even so, London does change. New building laws are introduced. Houses must now be built from brick and stone, not wood and thatch. These materials are much safer and far more resistant to fire. And Christopher Wren is given one major project. He rebuilds St. Paul's Cathedral. The new cathedral, with its famous dome, takes 35 years to complete. It still stands today, dominating London's skyline, and it will later survive the bombing of the Blitz centuries afterwards. By the 18th century, London becomes a center of Enlightenment thinking. Coffee houses spread across the city. They're the social media of their time, places where people share news, argue about ideas, and do business. Lloyd's Coffee House grows into Lloyd's of London, the world-famous insurance market. Jonathan's Coffee House becomes the London Stock Exchange.
London is also becoming the capital of a growing empire. In 1735, Robert Walpole, Britain's first prime minister, moves into 10 Downing Street. It will remain the official home of the prime minister for centuries. In 1761, King George III buys Buckingham House as a private family residence. Over time, it becomes Buckingham Palace. The city expands outward. In 1750, Westminster Bridge opens, giving London its second bridge across the Thames after more than 600 years with only London Bridge. Blackfriars Bridge follows in 1769, making travel and trade much easier. After Britain defeats Napoleon in 1815, the country becomes the world's dominant power. London is the financial heart of this empire. Banks, trading companies, and shipping firms fill the city. Wealth flows in from India, the Caribbean, and Africa. Then comes another transformation, the Industrial Revolution. Factories appear, railways cut through the city, mass production changes daily life. In 1801, London has just over 1 million people. By 1851, it reaches 2.5 million. By 1901, the population grows to 6.5 million. London becomes the largest city in the world. The Victorian era reshapes London on a massive scale. Trafalgar Square is designed in the 1840s to honor Admiral Nelson's victory. In the 1850s, the Houses of Parliament and Big Ben rise along the Thames after the old palace burns down. Their Gothic Revival style becomes one of the most recognizable images of the city. In 1851, London hosts the Great Exhibition in Hyde Park. The Crystal Palace, a giant structure made of iron and glass, shows the world Britain's industrial power. 6 million people visit. It is a moment of enormous confidence, Britain at the height of its strength. Not all progress is visible. In 1858, the Thames becomes so polluted that the smell, known as the Great Stink, forces Parliament to shut down. Engineer Joseph Bazalgette designs a new sewer system to fix the problem. His underground network, which still works today, carries waste away from the river and saves countless lives. London continues to innovate. In 1863, the city opens the world's first underground railway. In 1894, Tower Bridge, an engineering marvel, is completed and quickly becomes a symbol of the city. But Victorian London is also deeply divided. The wealthy live in comfort in areas like Mayfair and Belgravia. The poor are packed into overcrowded slums in the East End. Disease spreads easily. Cholera outbreaks in the 1830s and 40s killed tens of thousands of people. London is richer, larger, and more powerful than ever, but its struggles are far from over. Entire neighborhoods are destroyed by contaminated drinking water. People do not yet understand why disease spreads so quickly. For many years, doctors believe cholera travels through the air. Everything changes in 1854 when a doctor named John Snow proved that cholera spreads through polluted water, not bad smells. His discovery finally forces the city to fix its water system and saves countless lives. Crime is another growing problem in the rapidly expanding city. In 1829, Sir Robert Peel creates the Metropolitan Police, the world's first professional police force. The officers become known as bobbies, named after him.
Even so, London's dark side remains. In 1888, fear grips the East End. A serial killer known as Jack the Ripper murders at least 5 women in Whitechapel. He is never caught. The case becomes infamous and comes to represent the hidden danger of Victorian London, the sharp contrast between wealth and poverty. Writer Charles Dickens captures this world in his novels. He writes about workhouses, slums, children forced to work in factories, and the extreme inequality of a city that is both the heart of the richest empire on earth and home to some of its poorest people. The 20th century brings London back down to reality. The First World War kills hundreds of thousands of young British men. London's buildings survived, but the human cost is enormous. The Second World War is even worse. This time, war comes directly to the city. Between September 1940 and May 1941, German bombers attacked London almost every night in what becomes known as the Blitz. Entire neighborhoods are destroyed. Somehow, St. Paul's Cathedral survives. Famous photographs show it standing strong among smoke and flames, becoming a symbol of hope and resistance. By the end of the war, 1 million buildings are damaged or destroyed. Nearly 500,000 people across the UK have lost their lives.
After the war, London is poor, damaged, and exhausted. The British Empire is falling apart. India gains independence in 1947. Food rationing continues into the 1950s. Pollution from coal fires fills the air. In 1952, the Great Smog kills around 12,000 people in just 5 days. And yet, once again, London rebuilds. The Festival of Britain in 1951, held on the South Bank, marks a new beginning. Modern buildings rise from the ruins. The welfare state expands, and, most importantly, people begin arriving from across the former empire. In 1948, the Windrush generation arrives from the Caribbean. They are followed by immigrants from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and later from Africa and Eastern Europe. London becomes a truly global city. The 1960s bring a cultural explosion. This is swinging London. The Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Carnaby Street, and designer Mary Quant. Music, fashion, and youth culture put London at the center of the world once again. The following decades are more difficult. Economic decline hits hard. Strikes disrupt daily life. Terrorist attacks by the IRA shake the city. By the 1980s, the old docks are abandoned and large parts of the East End are neglected. Then comes another transformation. The docklands are redeveloped. Canary Wharf rises where warehouses once stood. The financial sector grows rapidly. London reinvents itself as one of the world's leading financial centers. The 21st century begins with the Millennium Dome, an expensive failure at first, later reborn as the O2 Arena. The city continues to grow. The 2012 Olympic Games transform East London, bringing new transport, housing, and investment. London's population passes 9 million, the highest it has been since before the Second World War. Modern London is defined by its diversity. More than 300 languages are spoken here. Entire neighborhoods reflect their global roots. Brixton's Caribbean culture, Southall's South Asian community, Chinatown, Turkish Dalston, Polish Hammersmith, and many more. You can eat food from almost any country, hear music from every tradition, and find a community from anywhere in the world. The skyline keeps changing. Glass and steel towers rise beside historic buildings. The Shard, the Gherkin, and the Walkie-Talkie divide opinion. The city is constantly debated, constantly evolving. London has survived Roman withdrawal, Viking raids, the Black Death, the
the Great Fire and the Blitz. Each time it rebuilds. Each time it adapts. Each time it draws in new people with new ideas. That is what makes London, London. It is messy, crowded, expensive, and complicated, and it has been that way for nearly 2,000 years. Thank you for watching. Creating videos like this takes a huge amount of research and time. This project is driven by passion, bringing thousands of years of history together into one story. If you enjoyed this journey through London's evolution, from Roman marshland to global metropolis, please like the video and subscribe for more deep dives into history. And let me know in the comments, which city would you like to explore next? As always, we'll see you in the past.